Hey everybody, Hunter back again from Showtime Studios. We're moving on to the next part of the build tutorial series. And as you can see, we have the body laying here, the upper body. And we've already got this in the lavender Tamiya paint. And we also have the coat, very light coat of TS13 clear sprayed over top of it. And not to make it shiny, because as you can see right here, it is not shiny. It's still pretty dull. That's just to seal down the paint so that we can handle the model, we can tape it, we can do all that and not affect our actual color coat. So what we're going to be doing in this episode is taping it to get ready to do the wood grain technique on the woody part of the body here. So pretty, it's time consuming to do this, but it's actually pretty easy. It's not all that difficult. If you follow along with the steps that I'm doing on this particular model here, if you get into a different style model that you're working on, this may change a little bit as far as, how you do this or how you do that. The technique is basically the same. So I can't, show the technique for every different scenario you're going to run into out there, but this one's pretty universal and, works pretty well. So what we're going to be using is a number 11 blade. I just put a brand new one in here. We're going to be using a Q-tip. We're going to be using a piece of toothpick that I went in. This is one of the bigger toothpicks, and it had paint on it. This was one of the parts that I sprayed at one time. Not sure which one it was, but I went in and just sanded it, and it kind of just rounded the tip a little bit so that it does have a nice point on it, but it won't gouge into our tape when we're smoothing it out. And we're going to be using some inch and a half inch and a half 3M tape for the wider parts that we're doing. And for anything that's going to be touching the basically the two tone where the wood grain is going to touch the paint, the lavender paint, we're going to be using this Kamoi tape, which is basically Tamiya tape. I'm pretty sure this is the manufacturer that makes Tamiya tape. This is the 40 millimeter wide tape, and I'm not sure if they make a dispenser for this. I kind of wish they did, but I haven't found one yet. And if I ever do, I'm definitely going to purchase one because getting this off the roll sometimes and making it useful is a little bit difficult. Now, I've already tore off 3 pieces that I have stuck over here to the side that we're going to get started with just to cut the video down a little bit as far as time. But we're going to go in and get this whole thing taped in this session. And then when we come back on the next part of this, we're going to go ahead and have the paint in the airbrush. I'll show you what paint I'm using. Of course, it's going to be a Tamiya acrylic, and we'll go from there. So this one's just going to be on taping off the body. You can use this technique not only for taping for the wood grain, you could use it for taping for a two-tone or anything like that. It's basically the same thing. Just going to show you the procedures that I use, and hopefully you can pick up some tricks to it. So to get started, we've already started on this side of the body. I did this before I started the video, and I've laid down, this was one single piece of tape, all from here around to where you see it folded up over here. And I've already cut out the spear up here where the wood grain is going to come to a point, and then that's flowing down. This is covering up there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a piece of tape across this. I'm going to show you how to cut that out. We'll have that wrapped up. And then, of course, all of this is going to get painted the wood grain color. And then I'm also going to be doing the bottom of the rear cargo door on this. And for some reason or another, when I put this piece of tape on, I went ahead and cut it around the top of the door. I don't want to do that. I want the top of the door to be purple or the lavender color. So we're going to run a new piece of tape across this, and we're going to cut it off here right underneath of the chrome strip, the body line that goes around here. So let's get started on this. I've got a piece of tape already tore off here. Like I say, this is the 40 millimeter wide tape. And what we're going to do is we're just going to place that. I've already got this little strip here, so we're going to do a little bit of an overlap, not a whole lot. And we're just going to lay that out and cover up the body with it. Now this piece will stay, all this area here will stay on. So we're just going to fold that around the corner just to get that into place. And then this part back here will be coming off. Next thing I do is on this particular model, right where this wood grain line is, there's actually an indentation. It's more like a panel line. So once I lay the tape down, I'll come in on that panel line with the toothpick, and I'm just kind of burnishing the tape into the edges. And I'm not pushing real hard. I'm just making a slight indentation right where that panel line is. And then after I do that, I'll come in with the hobby knife, and then we're going to start up here at the top, and we're going to lay the hobby knife pretty much right in the center of that groove. And we're just going to slowly pull the hobby knife around. You're not trying to put a lot of pressure down against the paint or anything like that. All you're basically trying to do is cut through the tape itself. And then I'll just cut that off all the way down. Now we're going to come in and we're going to pull up this piece of tape that we do not need right now. Get that out of the way. And sometimes I'll take that piece of tape and kind of sit it over here to the side. Just stick down one corner of it and leave it set there. You may be able to use that for a little fill in. So we've got that down now. I'm just going to take this extra and fold it around the bottom of the body here. And then you just want to come in with your toothpick again and very lightly, right on that panel line, just run that toothpick around that panel line. And what that'll do is it's going to fold that cut edge of the masking tape down around the edge of the panel line a little bit. And that way you'll have a real clean line when you're done. And especially if you're going to use anything like a panel line wash or something like that, it works out very well for that. And we actually might go in and do a black accent line around this with the Tamiya panel accent color. So we've got that. So as far as this whole area up through this point, that's all going to be wood grain. And of course, like I say, we're going to be wood grain all back here. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get another piece of tape. And we're going to come down below our body line. Not much. We're going to come a little bit below the body line. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to smooth right along the body line. And when I get to this edge over here, what I'm trying to do is just pull the tape tight as it comes around this corner. And this will help you save a little bit of tape. You don't want to get a wrinkle in this area right here. So if you keep tension pulled on that tape as it comes around, as you notice, it was straight here, but it's going to go around at an angle. So just pull and put it right around there at an angle. No big deal. And then I'll take the Q-tip and I'll come in underneath of that line to start out with. And as you rub the Q-tip on it, you can start to see these lines come up. And let's see if we can get it to zoom in there. You can see the lines come up right here. And then back here, I haven't done it with the Q-tip yet. And that's what I like about this tape is it works very well and it's transparent. So you can kind of see through it and see what you're cutting. And that always helps a lot to keep from messing up a paint job. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to smooth that all the way around, and we're going to bring it over onto this side. Of course, we're going to pull it tight again, and we're going to tuck it around that corner. And then sometimes when I've got these little pockets that stick up here, I'll just pinch that and it creates a fold in it. So we got that smoothed down. Now we're going to take our toothpick again, and we're going to start on this side right underneath of that chrome trim where we cut it, or where we if you remember back in an earlier video on the body prep on this, we took the number 11 blade and scored a line all the way around where we was going to put our bare metal foil. Well, that's the one good thing about this also is that process works very good for taping too. So if you wanted to two-tone this upper body and you've already done that technique, you can run the knife right into that groove that's already there, and it helps guide the knife and give you a nice clean line around there. So that's another reason why I do that. Now what I'll do is just come over here on the other side, and I normally start by dropping the knife ahead of the tape into that groove, and then I will pull it back toward me. And normally, if you've got this line scribed in, like I showed in the earlier videos, and you haven't got a bunch of junk in it from painting and priming and all that, you've kept it cleaned out nice, you should be able to lay this knife right down in that line and pull that knife right straight around and make a very nice, clean, sharp line in your masking. And we'll pull that all the way around until we get to the end of the tape. Now we're going to lift up the piece that we want to take out, which is this piece. And as you can see, we have a nice clean line all the way around our chrome. That's where our chrome is going to go. Everything is looking real good there. And then you kind of want to sight everything and look at it and make sure that you don't have any little nibs of tape sticking down or anything like that. If you do, come back in and just slowly trim those off, or even make a second pass with the knife just to make sure that you've got all the edges the way you want it to be. And just kind of burnish the tape down right in that groove a little bit. Not real hard. You're just folding around the edge of it. Same thing down this side. Okay, we're good there. We're going to move on now to this side of the body. And again, we're going to drop it down right below the body line. We're just going to stick it into place there, and then we're going to take our finger and we're going to smooth right along that body line. And then this part here will be staying on, so we're going to go ahead and fold that around the front and just tack that down for right now. Let me change that. You don't want to fold this around the front right yet. Hang on, back up on that. That was a mistake. Don't want to do that, because I forgot to mention something here about that. So let's see if I can get it back apart. Yep, we got it back apart. Okay, when you take this, well, almost got it back apart. Hang on a second. We'll get her here. There we go. Now we're going the right direction. When you get to the front corner of this, instead of wrapping that tape all the way around, you're going to step down here into the cowl on this particular model. So what we want to do is we just want to let that hang in midair right now and not really worry about that. We're going to take the Q-tip. We're going to come across this body line, the raised body line. We're going to smooth it. And then we're going to come underneath and smooth the tape out on the underside, just like we did before. We're going to come in with our Q-tip. And again, we're going to smooth the tape down all the way up here to this front edge. And if you remember, right here, we have that V. So we have a little section of that body line, that indentation right here in the tape. So what we want to do is go ahead and smooth that in. All right. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do on this part is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start back here in the body line. I'm going to come forward. And this is where we'll get into creating our V. And that's why I said don't fold this all the way around yet. Okay, now we've got that piece around and we should have cut it all the way. I think we did. Yep, we cut that all the way, so we're good there. Now we're going to come back in. We're going to go back here to the back where we've already trimmed our tape. We're going to drop the knife in that line again, right underneath of the chrome, where the chrome's going to go. And we're going to bring the knife forward in that groove until the knife drops off here at the cowl section. Go back in and get a hold of the excess. And like I say, nothing about this is hard. It will take a little bit of practice, and you may have to do it a couple of times to really get the hang of it, but it's not that bad. Take that little section out. That creates that little V that we were talking about. Now we're going to go ahead and smooth down what we have here on top just to get that out of the way. And while I was talking about here pinching these corners, you can see where this folds. You can do that a couple of different ways. What I like to do is just come in and pinch that. And as you pinch it, it kind of pulls this section down, and you're good to go. This section here, we can just fold it over the top of the body. No big deal. And you're not worried about any wrinkles or anything like that up in this area. Now, when we get to this piece here that we stopped on, you want to let that float. This piece out here. Now, we got that step that goes back in here at the cowl. You want to go ahead and smooth your tape down right to the edge of that, just so the tape starts to roll around the corner, but doesn't go around the corner. And then you come in with your toothpick, find the edge, and just roll that toothpick down into that step. And then stick your tape down. Something like that right there. And sometimes I'll go in and split the tape. It makes it a little bit easier to work with and conform around edges and stuff like that. You don't have to do that, but that's a little trick I've learned over the years. It works pretty well. And now we have all that smoothed down. Here's another little area that you can pinch right here just to put that down. And then the only other thing we have to do is come in and tape off this little section that we have right there. We're going to tear off another piece of the 40 millimeter. That's long enough to do that section. And a little trick for anybody that doesn't have a dispenser for this tape, once you get it started and you start pulling it off, if you just put your thumb here like this and pull off the end, it's real hard to get it started again. So what I like to do with it is pull it up like that. When you get to the length that you want, take your index finger and put back here behind, underneath of the sticky side of the tape, and just kind of walk your fingers up to keep this from rolling, because if you let go of it, it'll roll up on you. So just walk your fingers back and then move your thumb right up here on top of your index finger, tear that off, and then bend that back a little bit. And that tape will stay open like that, and it's easy to get a hold of. You don't have to go back in with your fingernail trying to get it up off of the roll. So that's a little trick that I learned through trial and error on this stuff. And like I say, anytime you let go of this stuff, it tries to roll back up. So be prepared for that. It's a very thin tape, and that's why it wants to roll up like that. So now we're going to come in and we're just going to set the tape down to cover up this lower body section. And again, right here where it steps into the cowl, leave that pulled up a little bit for right now. Come back in, find that line that's on here, that's your division line. Run the toothpick in it. Come back up here on the part that we've already trimmed. Start the knife. Come over onto your tape, following that line very slowly, very carefully. You can go at whatever speed you want to, whatever you feel comfortable with. Sometimes I'll go slow, sometimes I'll go fast. It just depends. Whatever you feel good with, that's what works. And then we're going to peel off this excess that we don't need up in here. We're going to set that over there. We're going to smooth out the tape on the body right here. And then right where it steps over the edge of the cowl right here, we're going to go ahead and take our toothpick. And we're just going to roll that down the edge of that step just to tuck the tape in. And the reason why I do that is when you tuck the tape in this corner right here, if you're spraying, you won't get any overspray down in there. You got to make sure that all the tails of your tape are tucked in real good around your where you're going to be spraying, either with a can or an airbrush or anything like that. So be aware of where all the gaps are in your tape and make sure you take care of those before you start spraying. Now just notice I got a little bit of tape here that I don't want, a little bit of extra up here above the line. And in this particular case, since we're going back and doing bare metal foil on this raised section that we're taping, it's not 100% critical. But if this was a line that you were just doing one color to another color as far as paint, you want to make sure you get that varnish down real well. So now we've got it tucked in there at the cowl. I just come up here and split that with the knife. Tuck that under. Come right here to the back edge of the fender. Split that with the knife. And you can tuck this bottom part under. And then you can fold this little section around right here if you want to. You can make it look like this if you want to. If you want to get, technical with it and make it fit the body, you can fold it around like that. Yeah, it's a couple different options that you have for that. So, there's not just one way to do it. So there we have all the bottom of the body taped off that we want to do our wood grain appearance on. So now we just have this little section right here. Now, normally I would not cover this up because all my overspray is pretty much going to stay down in this area. But for the newer guys out there and people learning this technique, go ahead and tear off another piece of tape. And you're just going to line that up over top of the Tamiya tape. It doesn't have to be anything special. All you want to do is cover up the surface and make sure you don't have any gaps or anything that the paint can get under and get on the purple on top of the car. And like I say, if you're doing it with a can, you definitely want to do this. If you're doing it with an airbrush and you have a lot of experience with an airbrush, you don't really need to tape this off because you'll know that you're not going to get overspray on it. But if you want to be safe, tape it off. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, we've got everything taped up, rolled around the corners. The split line is nice and clean all the way around. Our line right here is nice and clean, and everything looks real good. We're going to go in with the toothpick, and we're going to very lightly roll this edge right there. And I might have to adjust this tape a little bit right there. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And you can go back in and adjust, keep the knife in that line. Now remember that line, that recess is wider than your number 11 blade. So the number 11 blade will want to walk around within that recess. So sometimes you got to go back and do a little bit of artistic, curving and taking just a little slither of that tape off to make your curves look real good. But other than that, that's all there is to it. It's not that hard to do. It does take a little bit of practice, and I highly recommend using the 3M tape and the Tamiya or the Kamoi tape. It's a very good product. It works very well, and that's what we have. So we have everything taped off. We are ready to go as far as starting the wood grain technique on the outside. We're not going to put this in primer. We don't need to. We've already got a good coat down here. The colors that we're spraying over top of it to begin with are not transparent. We're going to cover that up. We'll be totally fine. So in the next episode, we're going to come back and we'll start laying some paint down on this and doing our two-tone process, our wood graining. So stay tuned for that. Like always, I want to thank you for watching and supporting the series, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.